$10,000 up to $20,000 for SSI with a piece of legislation that has bipartisan support. But there's also a glaringly obvious problem with this bill, which I'll break down for you right here in the video. Let's get into it and talk about what's going on. First off, can I ask a huge favor of you? If you have not done so yet, please make sure to like the video right down below with the big thumbs up. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Right down below the video. Also, if you have not done so, please make sure to subscribe as well. There's a big subscribe button right down below. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching, and let's talk about the details of this. All right, so right now, everything I'm talking about here in this video is pertaining to SSI, Supplemental Security Income, which is administered by the Social Security Administration. But I wanted to point that out really quickly because I do know that there are a lot of you here in the community that receive benefits from Social Security like retirement or SSDI, survivor, spousal, things like this. But this is only talking about SSI, Supplemental Security Income. All right, but anyway, so as a result of this legislation, it's actually pretty good, and lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are signing on to this. They are supporting this, which is really, really nice. You don't see that all that often. Now, the SSI program has not been reformed in a long time, right? Years, decades, in fact. The program has been sitting, just idling along, not doing a whole lot for the beneficiary, and it needs some major, major changes, which we've talked about so many times before in other videos. It's a major problem right now. It's basically not providing for the nearly 8 million people that actually rely on this program as it was intended to do when this program started way back in the early 70s, over 50 years ago. But anyway, the legislation is called SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act. Sounds pretty good, right? SSI, savings, penalty elimination, I don't know, all that sounds pretty good, right? But what does it really, really mean? It simply wants to raise the asset levels for SSI beneficiaries, which I'll explain here in just a minute. But I also do want to point out the glaringly obvious problem with this bill, because it seems like they're doing something, but yet it's missing a major point. Like, they're missing the point. That's literally what I'm trying to say here, okay? So it's a good piece of legislation, but they're not really doing what they need to do for the beneficiary. At the end of the day, this is not really going to cut it, but I'll explain here in just a minute. All right, so anyway, they want to raise the asset levels, okay? Now, this is a piece of legislation, to be 100% fair, was brought up, introduced for the first time about a year ago. However, coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the bill being introduced, I've seen it in the headlines a little bit like, hey, what about this? Are we going to vote on this thing yet or what? Now, here's the thing. Why they haven't voted on this is weird, okay? I mean, this would be so easy to pass. It's not going to be like that hard to do. It would not cost them any money to do this. I'm not really sure why they haven't passed it yet. But so remember, right now, as an SSI beneficiary, as an individual, you can have up to $2,000 basically in cash or cash equivalent, right? That's like the asset threshold for an individual. But the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act, this legislation would raise it from $2,000 up to $10,000. Not bad, right? An increase of, 500%? Not a bad return, right? Exactly. Now, however, what they'd want to do is for a married couple who receives SSI, who the asset level is $3,000, they would want to raise it up to $20,000. That's a really nice return as well, right? A major, major increase. So from going $2,000 and $3,000 up to $10,000 and $20,000 of the cash or cash equivalent in the asset levels, okay, for SSI. Now, this would be very good. Now, this is what I alluded to a minute ago, and let me explain. I said that they're missing a major problem. Like, they're totally missing the point here, right? Have you ever talked to somebody? I mean, you've had this conversation, right? You're talking to somebody and you're like, this is what I need. This is what I'm talking about. And it's just like right over their head and they totally miss the point. And they're like, yeah, we'll do that for you. And then they, they'll talk about something totally opposite. And you're like, you just totally misunderstood what I said. No, that's not what I'm talking about. You missed the point, right? Have you ever had that conversation? It goes in a variety of ways. I think we've all been there, right? You've communicated with somebody. It's like, you have no clue what I just said, right? You're not listening, okay? I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about like the conversation that I'm referring to. But when it comes down to lawmakers and this legislation, don't get me wrong. It's great. We'll gladly take it. But it's kind of missing the point here. What do beneficiaries living on SSI need? Do they need an asset level that's increased from $2,000 to $10,000 and $3,000 to $20,000? Or do they need higher checks? I mean, let's be real for a second. Higher checks is what's going to get a person there, right? Because here's the thing. Somebody living on a maximum benefit right now for this year, as I filmed this video in 2024, of $943 as an individual maximum, or $1,415, $1,415 as a married couple, Do you think that's really going to allow anybody to save up anything more than, I don't know, maybe a couple $100, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 if they're very, very lucky? I don't really think that's the situation, right? As in, we're not concerned about saving up money right now because there's no money to be saved. The checks are so small that it's all burnt up in the first, week or 2 weeks that somebody gets paid, and then they have to struggle by for the next 2 weeks until they get paid again, right? So that's kind of the situation I'm talking about here, is that they miss the point being it's not about the asset levels and the asset reserves, which is good, but if they're going to do that, guess what? I don't know how somebody's going to save up $10,000 on SSI or $20,000 as a married couple on SSI if they're only getting these little tiny benefits under $1,000 as an individual or a little over $1,400 as a married couple. I mean, trying to live on that and then save some, yeah, it's just not working, right? And again, I bet I will read down below in the comment section on this video. I'm just going to go ahead and guess right now. I will bet that there are hundreds of comments on this video, most of which people receiving SSI saying, yeah, I have like no money in my bank account. I have 34 cents. There's no money left at the end of the month. There's no money left between checks. There's no way I can save any money. Yeah, I agree, right? So this is what I mean by they're missing the point. So here's what I would suggest. And again, do lawmakers give a rip what I say? Probably not, right? They couldn't care less. And a lot of times, I'm going to be fair with you, I don't really care what lawmakers have to say either, because it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors, right? But to be fair, if they don't care what I say and I don't care what they say, I guess we're equal on level playing field, right? But let me give a little suggestion. If they're going to raise the asset levels from up to these $10,000 and $20,000, maybe they should also raise check amounts up to, I don't know, let's just throw a number out there. Maybe the federal poverty line, like what has been introduced in the SSI Restoration Act, would that maybe do it? Well, that would certainly help, right? If we gave everybody an increase to their monthly benefit checks, at least to the federal poverty line. Again, I'm just throwing that number out there because we know that this is one of the provisions within the SSI Restoration Act. Again, another piece of legislation that's out there. That's actually a really good one. I think that's a really great piece of legislation. Why they haven't done it yet just completely confuses me. I have no idea. I think that's a really good one. But anyway, if they were to raise benefits up to the federal poverty line, that would increase benefit checks by over $300 a month for an individual. And what is it, like $300 or $400? No, I think it's like $300 a month for a married couple. I'd have to run the math on the married couple. I'm not sure exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's like $300 or $400, something like that a month. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot that benefits would actually be going up. So my point is, this would be incredible. I mean, this would be really, really good if they were to do that. So if they're going to do it, why not combine both of these provisions together? Hey, let's raise check amounts up to the federal poverty line. And at the same time, as while we're at it, since people are getting more money, maybe they'll have the opportunity to save a couple $100 a month, stick it away, and then maybe over the course of a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, maybe they can have $3, $4, $5, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 saved up after years and years of saving. They could actually have a little bit of a safety net sit there, right? Now, here's what else is interesting as well. I was just reading an article about this, and this is very interesting. I might make a dedicated video about this because I think it's very fascinating. But they continue to find that people that are that do not have savings, like a built-up savings of like any money stored away, it actually costs the individual and it costs the government even more money. Now, again, it costs the person more money because they don't have any savings to lean back on. So now they have to basically put money on credit cards or borrow money from friends and family or get loans or whatever it happens to be. It costs the person more money to not have any money saved. Seems kind of weird, like contradictory, right? But it's true. That's what the report was saying. And they also continue to find that people that have no money saved up, it costs the government more money as well. So again, I'm a pretty logical person. I think very logically. That's just how I'm wired. But to me, if I'm looking at the numbers and say, gee, look at that. People are losing more money. It's costing them more, and it's costing the government more money to have no money. Why wouldn't we just say, here, have a little bit more money, build up a savings, and then it saves everybody money. They are coming out of pocket less, going into debt less, and it's costing the government less. I don't know. Is that just not like the most logical thing, or am I just a total airhead? I don't know, right? To me, that makes logical sense. Now, obviously, do have to look at the exact numbers behind it and make sure that it all calculates and pens out, but you get what I'm saying here, right? So anyway, that's just what I want to share with you. So this is the piece of legislation that's out there. It's a good one, but it's not really going to accomplish what they think it's going to, because there's just nobody out there that can really save up that kind of money on SSI because you get like nothing a month, right? So it doesn't really matter. I mean, the savings, the savings limit, the asset level could be $1 billion. But if you're getting 943 a month, you're never going to get there. I'm sorry. Never, ever, ever is somebody going to get there on that amount of money. You see what I'm saying here? It just doesn't matter. I mean, it could be whatever, infinite. And you just never get there because there's just no money to be had, right? Like, you got to be a pretty savvy person to be able to live on 943 a month. I'm just saying, right? I've said that before in other videos. You've got to be super, super money savvy, and you've got to be a really like, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Astute person to be able to figure out like how to live on less than $1,000 a month. I mean, seriously, right? You got to be very, very skilled and knowledgeable, and you are. I mean, here's the thing. I've seen some of the strategies that some of you deploy to live on small amounts of money before. It's nuts. It's pretty cool, right? It's awesome. Anyway, so let's leave it at that for now. I know this video is getting a little bit long. I apologize about that, but kind of a lot to rant about apparently. So anyway, I hope this helps you. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Big subscribe button. Otherwise, like the video. Again, thumbs up button down below. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Otherwise, check out the other videos here on the channel, the thousands in the video library. The ones I've hand selected for you down below in the description or the top of the comment section. And right now showing up on your screen as well. You'll see some videos there. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your day. Take care. Have a good one. And I'll catch you again.